Ken, fantastic to have you with us. Could we start off just by telling me a little bit about Frisco projects and what it is that you do with your business?
Frisco projects we've been as a business running since 2017, but one of the areas we've been prioritising is innovation projects, and we work with students from the University of Aberdeen and the University of Strathclyde in one of the innovation projects, which is around e-bikes powered by the sun. So Frisco e-bikes and Frisco solar docks, and we came across yourselves, interestingly, through offshore Europe.
Yep.
But we're very much in renewables, and from that conversation, you explained what you'd offered, and that was ideal for what we were looking at. And one of the students we'd worked through in an earlier phase, we were interested whether we work with them as an intern, and so that took place, and it was really productive, taking some of the designs that the University of Strathclyde had worked with us on and took those to the next level, and that helped us in terms of progressing the prototype design that we're due to launch and do some pilots, prototypes.
Yep.
And it's been really good.
Fantastic. That's great. And what was your workflow like before you started using Udrafter? What problems were you trying to solve that you thought an intern could help out with?
So taking the prototype designs that we've worked with the University of Strathclyde, just taking them up another level, looking at refining some of the details so we could get realistic prices for components, breakdown of how many items were required in the product, and that was really useful to then take on separately to develop the animations, again preparing those ready for working with investors, and just taking the whole project further forward.
Great. And had you sort of touched on it a little bit there, but had you worked with interns prior to using Udrafter, and what was that? How did you normally source them?
With University of Aberdeen, it was a contact through Offshore Europe Business Breakfast, strangely enough, and sat down and put a proposal in to work with some second-year students, and I saw the great benefit of working with students. I'm obviously from a slightly different generation, but from a background of engineering, and having a different number of perspectives on how to take the project forward. And then working with interns, is attractive because the individual I was working with, Daniel, had demonstrated, flair in terms of design, and I saw that potential in what he had to offer, and it definitely was a worthwhile investment of time. I've always been happy to mentor in terms of throughout my working career, and there was an element of mentoring, in terms of ideas.
Absolutely.
That might work. That's probably, you need to park that maybe for sometime later, or that may not be appropriate.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely an added benefit for, I know a lot of the interns, it's not just about doing the project and, getting a bit of extra pocket money. It's that extra added mentorship, which I think was really nice that you mentioned there. I know Daniel will get a lot of benefit out of that as he moves on to other pieces of work and for the rest of his career. So that's really cool. And what results did you achieve? What was you touched on it a little bit there at the end of your the last question. What was your return on investment through an intern for this particular piece of work?
Various aspects to kind of mature the business plan in terms of having some product details of what they actually look like. So in terms of presenting to investors, so they can actually get an idea what it looks like, the products we're offering, as against purely me trying to describe it. The picture, saves 1,000 words, and then taking 3D animations, again, that just takes that another step. So it was definitely worthwhile investment of time, and difficult to quantify it financially, but it's definitely my experience. Familiar with 3D design, but not a practitioner, and obviously working with Daniel with his background, that was really useful.
What piqued your interest about Udrafter at the start? Why were you interested in using Udrafter?
Partly because it was looking at a small chunk of work, a mini project. The project overall is many thousands of hours or tens of thousands of hours, but moving the project forward is worthwhile as a mini project around about 100 to 150 hours, to take what we had, just take it a bit further before we kind of jump in and go into manufacturing.
Great. And what is it that you look for in an intern when you're hiring? Is there particular characteristics that really stick out for you?
Ability in terms of skills, but also an ability to listen to what the challenge is, what's the problem, what are we trying to solve. So that's important to me. If somebody's fixed in their ways and they won't prepare to change direction, then that's going to be difficult. But in terms of innovation, you need to be doing a bit of, what about this, what about that? Okay, but you've got to come to a conclusion. You can't keep on
Absolutely.
doing what ifs. You've actually got to say, okay, we've made a decision. Let's proceed with that. Okay, we may need to change a little bit, but let's make some forward momentum.
Great. And you touched on some really good responses there, but how much do you reckon you saved time working with the intern, if compared to if you were to do it yourself or go source someone somewhere else?
Obviously, in terms of comparative cost compared to consultancy is significantly lower, and there is more time in working with a student or an intern to certainly bring them up to speed to some of the things that may be necessary. So there is a balance, but definitely a benefit. I've got to invest more time, probably bring them into the line of thinking in terms of the business. But they've got skills that I haven't got. I did CAD design, I did 3D drawings, technical drawings on drawing boards.
Yeah.
Then moved on to using computer-aided design a number of years back, but I'm not okay with as a practitioner, and but obviously the intern has got that knowledge.
Absolutely. And in terms of um, a using Udrafter, obviously we're an online software service. Why choose a software service compared to maybe a third party different solution? What was the sort of process there and thought process that you went through?
In terms of what you're offering as a business, we saw as attractive, and it was a flexible process. There was minimal risk. That if it didn't work out, we hadn't spent heaps of money with it, as we might do with a consultancy. But I, was confident enough in terms of assessing the abilities of the individual, and particularly Daniel had met him through the earlier part of the project. So I saw it as an attractive. It was easy to capture the project scope, and an easy and simple process to identify a candidate who was able to do the work.
Absolutely. And sort of few final questions. We found out where you heard about us. What What would you say? How would you describe working with us at Udrafter? What area do you think you got the most value out of getting an intern through Udrafter?
Being able to quantify the scope and quantify the cost commitment, and having flexibility, and then where we identify that there's benefit to expand the project a little bit more than the parameters we set, it was easy to do that. You know, I think that's probably the aspects I found beneficial.
How likely would you be to recommend us, and why should someone maybe listening to this on their coffee break one day? Why should they take action right now?
Well, we have recommended you to other businesses, and we have recommended you to
Amazing.
students or people who would be a good opportunity to work through yourselves. So we see the benefit in all walks of life. We need to have a diverse working community of all ages, recognizing the benefits of new ideas, but also recognizing the benefits of people with experience. And so we saw it as a beneficial mix.